Welcome to Euroforum UG, where we address Ugandans from Europe, USA, Asia, Africa, Australia, and all over the globe. We share experiences, opinions, and expertise on current affairs, educative lifestyle, religion, and family matters. Follow, subscribe, and like our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Euroforum UG. You can also join our live shows every weekend on our social media platforms. For more information, visit our social media platforms or email us at euroforumug@gmail.com or WhatsApp us on +4740 574040. Euroforum UG, communicating with peers.
Hello to our viewers from wherever you're watching us from. Greetings. My name is Sarah Navakoza, and I'm happy to have you on our show when we are going to talk about parenthood, especially the children that grow up with single parents, either way, the single dad or the single mom. And my guest on the show is a very wonderful man that I admire. He is a single father who has raised amazing boys. But I'll give him a chance to talk about himself, then we can delve into our conversation. So, Mr. Kalyango, you can please introduce yourself and we delve into the conversation.
Thank you, Madam Sarah Navakoza. It's a pleasure being with you. Spending such a lovely weekend with you. It's an honor to be here. Who am I to be talking about parenting? It was a privilege actually raising those boys, and it still is. As mentioned, my name is Kalyango Mutesa Siramusa. I'm a Ugandan, 53 years of age. And I think that's all. A football coach and a father full-time. And I'm a medical assistant as well.
Wow, thank you so much, sir. So usually they tell us that it takes a village to raise a child. So if you can maybe tell us what has been your experience in this parenthood journey, when you're only one parent and it's not a village, like they usually tell us, how has it been for you as a person? The challenges, the ups, the downs, everything. How has it been for you?
I must be lying if I say it was a piece of cake. It is. As they normally say, the elder they get, the more complicated problems they get. Because as a single father, not only are you a father to them as their children, but when they grow, they keep on having more problems and they'll always come on to you. But I think in this case, as a single dad, some of the problems that I faced were very understandable in a way that we normally parent the children the way we were parented. And as a father, I cannot start blaming my dad for whatever he did and did not do. But as a single father, I think some of the places where we miss is giving the love, the parental, the warmth, the cuddling, and more talking. I was not so good in that. I would say somehow it affected my children. I could see now that I've grown up and try to analyze it on a wider perspective, I can see things that I've not done well. And these are some of the repercussions of raising children alone as a single father or single mom for that case. I think we were not meant to be single, whatever the case. But it's always the circumstances that pushes us to such situations. So I think that's how I can answer that.
Okay, so I think we forgot to say that you're even in a different country. Mr. Kalyango lives in Denmark, and myself, I live in Uganda. So you see, our parenthood, most of the times, I don't know if the countries we live in also determine parenthood. But if you can give maybe someone who is living in Uganda and plans to come to maybe an European country, what's the experience like? Like when you compare Uganda to Europe, how is parenting like? Or is it the same? I don't know.
I think parenting in Uganda will be a bit different compared to how we parent children here in Europe, because first and foremost, some of the goals can be achieved and some cannot be achieved, depending on what you are looking at as goals. Personally, I didn't want my children to be, I would call it brainwashed by religion or cultural influence. I wanted my children to be self-independent in making their decisions. And somehow I feel like I achieved that. Now, someone who lives in Uganda, in such a very Christian country, both Christianity and Islam is at the highest level, may look at me and wonder and say, now these people, whenever they travel to Europe, they get brainwashed. But personally, growing up in the 90s, when I started having children, my firstborn was born in 96. That means I got married in 95. Now, growing up in the 90s, remembering people like saying, if you can remember people who were there during the 90s, remembering how Islam was at the highest level when we used to have the tablighs. Much as I'm a Muslim, I practice Islam, I pray 5 times a day. I never wanted my children to be among those that are going to be brainwashed. When they tell them to jump, they will just ask you, how high should I jump? I never wanted my children to be influenced in such a way. I wanted always my children to be like people who can think and analyze before they do anything they want to do. That means somehow I achieved the goals that they are self-independent in that manner. In terms of education, they achieved the education they should have, and some are still on the way because my youngest is now 16. So there is still a way for me to go. There's a long way to go until now.
Wow, that's so beautiful. I think you picked into my questions because I wanted to ask a personal question, but still, some of our viewers are saying you're too close to the camera. I think they're just not seeing you very well.
I'll do that.
Yes. No, a bit behind. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's better. So, if we now delve into your personal experience as a single father, someone out there might want to know, growing up, did you decide to become a single father? How did it come about? Was it something you planned, or it's something that God brought on the way and you just took it on?
Yeah, it's quite a difficult question, but some of these issues are not planned. No one plans actually to raise the children alone. In a very few situations, in most cases, these are inevitable situations that forces us to come there. In my situation, my first 2 children were born in Uganda. That's my firstborn and my secondborn. So I brought them in 2000 when my firstborn was only 4 years and my secondborn was 2 years old. And that means that I left their mother back home. And when I came here to Denmark, I remarried because you had to get married in order to survive. And of course, marriage normally goes, sometimes, young as I was, comes with a gift of children. So I ended up marrying. I got 2 children with my Danish wife. And eventually, when I got the permission to stay and everything was as it's supposed to be, then I brought my Ugandan wife. And she stayed, and we got a 3rd child. Unfortunately, she died. She passed on out of cancer. So that forced me to live alone. I stayed alone before with my Danish wife, but of course, I still call that parenting single-handedly. Even if you're living with someone, But if someone is not entitled, it has nothing to do with the children, the upbringing, it is still a single. I regarded myself as a single father because of the values that I wanted to inflict into my children, that I wanted them to have all the way. I did not feel like these values were being added onto them. So that's what forced me to call myself a single dad. And when we had children, after I had broke up with my Danish wife and got married to got married again, got the papers, got the Ugandan wife here, we had a child. When she passed on, I stayed single because first and foremost, I was also grieving for the loss of the wife. It took me approximately 7 years to recover from the loss. Now, that period again, I was also a single father. You see, so it has not always been my choice, but circumstances forced me to be a single.
Oh, wow. So that means you have 4 children who are all boys, right?
5 boys. They are all 5. The 5.
Oh, 5. Okay,
3 with the
so,
Ugandan and 2 with the Danish wife.
oh, okay, so, okay, for anyone watching us out there, we've had series on the Euroforum UG. For ever since the year started, our first session was on parenthood. Even this one is on parenthood. Plan to watch even the next one. It will be more interesting because today we'll be talking about children, but next week we'll have a single mother who will also give us her side of the story. Now we are talking to a single father of boys. We'll also get a side of a single mother. How is it like, the experiences, and how children turn out. So plan to watch this series. If you've not watched the one for last week, please, you can check on our YouTube and Facebook, and please watch with us. Yeah, so back to you, Mr. Kalyango. I would want to know, I know you talked about it a few minutes back, but I would want to know, were you intentional about instilling some of the core values in these your sons? And what are some of those core values that you said, yes, I'm a single father, I have this and this to do, but this and this, they have to have them. What are some of those core values that you are intentional about instilling in your children?
Now, among other values that I instilled, right, I thought they were very fundamental, was learning the culture. I'm a Uganda man. I wanted them to learn Luganda, and they did that to a certain time or period. And then, of course, we could not cope up. Now, the fact that I was working fully, and then come home, I had then to make dinner, what and so on, help them with the books and everything. We did not have so much time before they would go to bed, because then they had to wake up early in the morning. So first and foremost, we lost Luganda, in touch with the Luganda. They could not continue. We could not keep up speaking Luganda in the house. So I lost that at an early age. And one of the only thing they knew a few words like Njakuku. Of course, every Ugandan child knows that. Njakuku becomes like a key, and then you have like Mpemere, Amazi, such small things. To the extent that even my Danish child, when he went to start with kindergarten, he would call them and say, Njagala mata. Can you please give me a mata? So they were bilingual, but they could not like construct a sentence in one language, because we used to speak both languages. And then they would always call me and ask. So we reached an extent where I said, okay, this is now becoming too much. So we dropped the Luganda and just continue with the Dane. And the fact that they can speak English, as time goes by, I knew they would communicate with my family back home, now that everyone spoke English. So that was one of the first value that I lost. Secondly, it was the Islamic. I'm a Muslim man. As I said, I pray 5 times. So I also wanted to instill that as one of the fundamental values that I felt that I should keep in touch. Now, we had to pray. Sometimes they would not pray, but when they were home, we had to make sure that they were praying. Fasting was also, we felt we had to fast and pray. And, we make duas when you're going to shower, when you're going to the toilet, the small things, like you will feel like you're going into a house of a Muslim man despite the fact that I was single. And now some of those values, they kept them. But as I said, I didn't want to have values that were going to impact their ways of thinking and analyzing issues. So much as I wanted them to be Muslims, I didn't want them to be fanatics. I wanted them still to have ways of maneuvering into the world by remembering that we are living in a Christian country that doesn't really announce Christianity as we see it in Uganda. But at the same time, when you meet a Dane and talk to them, they are the most humble people you can think of. They are most understanding people, much as religion is not affecting their ways of doing things and how they think. So these are some of the core values that I thought that I should keep on. Because when you live in this society, people don't talk about religion, but they are very good religious people. When you talk to them, when you make an appointment, they will keep it. When they give you a job, they will pay you in time. Not like what we see in the Arab countries, not like what we see in the other countries, like Christian countries and Muslim countries. So despite the fact that they don't mention so much about religion, when it comes to fulfilling their obligations, they do it perfectly without anything. So I reached an extent where I thought, well, this is what I wanted my children to be. And so I kept those values. So I lost some, but I kept some.
I think losing values happens both ways. Yeah, both ways. Even if both parents are there, some of the values, the kids will lose them along the way.
Yeah,
So
but
maybe. Mm,
in the case where you're two people, someone would always be home, because I remember the short period that Fatuma, my wife who died, when she was home, when they would come home before I even arrived home, there would be food, there would be some kind of communication before I even enter the house, and she was very strict on keeping sure that they maintain the language, and of course prayers as well. But now, being single-handedly alone on each and everything, you start deciding what makes more sense. And for that matter, you keep on losing even things that means a lot to you. But of course, it was like, okay, is it so much needed that it would even break my cycle? Or is it okay that I can live without it? So it was always a point of asking yourself what makes more sense than the other, and picking out what was better, and that of course resulted into what they became today.
wow. In fact, when you talked about your late wife and Islam, myself was raised by a single mother who was married to a Muslim man, but my dad passed when I was only 1 year, and my mom was pregnant with my brother. So my mom didn't know Islam. Actually, my dad had named me Fatuma. So when my dad died, my mother made us Christians. I think we also lost that value along the way of Islam. Yeah, so I now get a point. So if I might ask, as a single parent, how do you balance? How do you balance making money, making sure the kids are well brought up with character? How do you balance the two,
You see,
especially when you're still in your working age?
yeah, it's never an easy task, because not only do I work and take care of the house and then parent, I also do community work as a football coach. Now, I remember growing up as a child, I always told myself, I wish I would only get boys, because it would be easier for me to maintain and teach how to become a man. And it so happened that my prayers were answered and I only got boys. I thank God for that. I don't know how I would manage if I had a girl in the situation where I'm a man. I would have told her. And of course, you have to, if that's the reason, if that's the only way, to overcome such situations. Of course, you have to teach them, because I've also heard about people, among other people that I also look forward, I'm up to. there is a gentleman called Mohamed Bari. Actually, he's the father to one of our hosts. He was also a single father, but he brought up children, both engineers and in the medical industry, and some who are married, and some like Gloria. You know, these are girls, but they were raised by a single dad. So it is possible. You can do it. But it's not easy, as I'm saying. It's not easy. But some of the problem I can now, as I age, I can look back and one of some of the things that I did not do right. I was not a good communicator, because parenting lays the foundations on which character is built. So I was parented with a man who was not a very good communicator. I remember when I was growing up as a child, sometimes my dad would just beat me and say, "Nakugamba antia." "Excuse me, Dad, you told me a lot of things." "Yeah, naye nakugamba antia." Then he says, "Galamira." He gives you 5 strokes, and then he said, "Don't you remember I said A, B, C, D?" I'm like, now you've already beaten me. Is it really worth explaining? And growing up, I said I wanted to be the best version of my dad. But now when I look back in time, I believe my children, some of the things, because at times we sit now and negotiate, of course, as adults, because my elder son is turning 30 this year, and then my second born is 27. So we sit as men. And I always ask them, what did I go good? What did I do bad? Where could I improve? And all 5, they agree that communication would have been much better. You would have communicated much better. Sometimes you would come home and you just sit and, get a book and read. Sometimes you would just get the Quran and read. Sometimes we didn't know where you are. If you are mad or you're happy, we never knew what you are, what was going on with you. And so now I realize that communication, now that I have a 16-year, I do communicate a little bit more than I used to with the elder ones. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, it really does. It really does. Now that you've talked about communication, I think now we are going to the children. I think we've talked more of the parent, and we're here to know the children. As a single dad raising boys, we know that some of the characters that are instilled by women, like emotions, how to handle emotions, to respect people. So how do the children turn out? Which character, especially now the boys that you have boys, what are their characters from a single father household? How do they get these other things that a mother is supposed to instill in them?
Personally, I think instilling characters, instilling values and morals is a job that is supposed to be done by both parents. It's only that we, the fathers, we have what we call the godly love. When God says you have to pray, if you don't pray, you go to hell, just because he doesn't love you. Whereby the mother will tell you, please go and pray. It doesn't mean that the mother loves you more because she put the word please first, whereby the father will tell you, you have to pray. So sometimes I feel like these values are supposed to be instilled by both parents. One has a softer way and one has a harder way, but they all love you equally. So personally, I did all that. I look at myself as one of the best examples of integration, because the way I carry myself in the public, I know that my children learn more from how they see me behaving than what I normally tell them to do. I've been a football coach from 2000 until now. I'm still coaching. Now, most of the children, even those just around the village, besides professional, but those that have been coaching around, sometimes I meet them and I say, actually, you're one of my best coaches I've ever had. Now, that alone is even worth it more than the money that I got during the time that I was coaching them. The fact that I instilled some of the values of growing, because when we talk about football, it's not about learning how to kick the ball. you are 11 people who are supposed to work together and make sure that that ball goes into the other net, whereby you also have 11 people who are defending that ball. So what do we learn in that? We are learning skills, working together, communicating in order to achieve these goals. So what I've learned and what I've instilled into my children is to be good people, your behaviors. If you're walking and finding an elderly, we have neighbors who are elder people. Normally, now that we are in winter, when I get out to clean my compound, I don't only clean my compound, I do clean all the neighbors. Knowing that I'm raising boys, they can see that what dad is doing is what is required. And these people normally in summer, they come with a lot of alcohol, what and so on, despite the fact that I tell them I don't drink. I did not do that because I want you to pay me. But they just feel like this is the only way they can say thank you. So the fact that I contribute to the society by coaching football, the fact that I help, they can see me helping people, they know that what I'm doing is what is required of any human being. That you don't need to attain a certain degree in order to be a good person. Humanity is something that you can do, you don't need to be taught. So I feel that they learn more from what I do than what I tell them to do. And that's how I feel that I've tried to instill the good manners into them. And I know that they will survive even the following day when I'm not here.
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Kalyango, for sharing part of your story. We are still going on. For anyone watching us, share the link with your friends because they need to tap into this conversation to know. Because when you read statistics, now we have a crisis of single parents, and very many people argue how children turn out. And what we are delving into now today. So you can tune in, send in your feedback, tell us what you think about single parenthood and the character of the children that turn out from single parent households. So Mr. Kalyango, coming back to you, I know we've talked about your experience, your children and everything, but now let's talk about the general picture. How would boys or girls raised from a single parent household turn out? Because today we are seeing, as telling people like myself, as raised by a mother, and like you said, mothers are a bit softer. So some of these things I've just realized them after growing up. Like, how do you talk to a man? Like, you need to do this. You need to serve a man food which is hot. You need to kneel down while serving. Us who are raised in Western Uganda, we don't even kneel. I was actually surprised when I came to Kampala and some of my cousins were kneeling for their parents to greet them as like, hey, how do you kneel for your mother? Like it's just good morning. But for them, they were Waganda raised in Kampala. So it was obvious that you kneel for your parent while greeting them. But for me, when serving her food, I'll just give her food. Your food is there.
Yeah.
But after staying with my cousins, I got to know, like my auntie was telling me, they don't cook katogo for a husband. Like you don't cook for your husband katogo. But I didn't know because now my mom, you would just reach home, cook katogo, she would come and eat. And I didn't know. So some of those things, I innocently missed them because I was raised by a single mother. I'm just learning them that I have to kneel for my husband while greeting him or doing these things I didn't know. So if we talk about the general character, what are some of these things that our children are missing along the way? I don't
I
know.
think,
You can give us a bigger picture, general picture.
I think I don't think I can relate that on a male or female perspective, because I think some of the friends I have here, there is a lady called Naomi Kasozi. Now, Naomi Kasozi is a lady who came to Europe, to Denmark in particular, when she's only 19 years. At 19, she managed to get 2 children. Hard luck, the husband died, and she raised the children single-handedly as a single mother. And guess what? By the age of 24, the boy had already finished his master's. So you can still have children who are bagging masters and PhDs, even if you're a single mother. And then the second lady I can talk of is Rose Babirye. She's also Ugandan. She came here as a teacher from Uganda. By the firstborn, by the age of 29, she had finished with a PhD. And the two other kids, they are finished with a master's at the age of 24. So you can still make it, even if you're a lady. What we have to bear in mind, what we have to bear in mind is the kind of characters that we are instilling into children, our children. You see? Sometimes you have to realize that when you are so soft, you may end up, that they may end up having this soft life, thinking that life is a bed of roses. But then again, when you are too hard on them, it can also inflict the fact that they don't know what it means to have the empathy, to cuddle, to tell someone that I love you. These are some of the words I learned along the way as I was growing into my single father parenting. Telling a child that I love you, it is something that was very foreign to me, whereas it comes very naturally with a lady. But then again, sometimes you may find that the ladies, much as they are good into parenting children, they can bang all these masters and PhDs at an early age. They may have some other problems, like you maneuvering into the world as a man. Because I cannot teach a woman how to be a woman, the fact that I don't know what women do. And so do women also have problems in upbringing men, teaching them the values of being a man? Because I remember, as I said, Mchala Naume, we had an organization called the Baganda Twegati. Now, these were the men, we used to act as uncles. The children would come to us and ask, how do I shave without even having pimples? It is something that you think it is very small, but to a mother who had never shaved, it becomes a problem. So we used to use one another, unlike now when we have chat GDP, anything can be answered. They can answer each and everything. What am I saying? That I don't think we need to rely this on male or female, despite the fact that sometimes the male raised by a female could end up being soft, because sometimes the things really come easier when you are a lady than it does when you are a man. Because we teach them that there is no easy way. As a man, you have to work your ass off. Excuse my language. But that's the only way to achieve everything you want to do in life. You're not going to expect that your looks will impact you in any way. Whereas a woman, you can dress, get out, and get a job just by looks. So sometimes we just need to make these demarcations very clear that as a man, this is what you have to do. You have to sweat, you have to work your way out, and you cannot expect things to come so easily. And by so doing, we have to remember that when you're too hard, like I was, sometimes it can bring problems. Like when these people grow, they may, when you don't show them actual love and tell them that they are loved, these people may have problems bonding with other people, like their spouse. Like they will do, sometimes they may even end up losing the confidence in them because they don't know what it means. And sometimes it can even be so hard that making judgments can become even difficult for them. So it's always nice to find the balance. You're not so hard, but you're not also very soft as well. And this is where the combination of the both parents matters a lot in upbringing. But when you are a single parent, then you have to realize that by telling my child that you have to go to bed by 9, it's not because I hate the child less, but because these are the real rules that have to be applied. By having a child, because I remember one of my children who grew up with a mother, he would come home to me and then you wanted to make decisions in what kind of food we are going to eat and how we are going to eat and what and so. I'm like, no. Today is Sunday. I'm praying. I'm preparing this and this and that, and you have to sit and eat, because when I plan what we are going to eat, I think about the quality of the food that we're going to eat, how many calories we are going to consume, all that into perspective. So it's not all about the taste of the food, but it's also the quality of the food that I'm also giving out to my children. You're not going to tell him that because you want pasta and rice, it'll be only pasta because that's what you prefer. Then we are looking at other minerals. Are you going to get all the minerals that you need to get? How much proteins are you going to get from this? No, I only want sweets because of this. Instead of giving you fruits, then you tell me, no, when we go shopping, I have to have sweets because my mother gives me sweets. I'm like, hell no, we are not doing that. I'm the head of the house. It is my responsibility to make sure that you have a healthy life. And so I'm giving you what is good for you. You may not appreciate it today, but in future, you will look back and appreciate what I'm giving you. So having that balance and the ability to make decisions that may not be sounding so nice to him right away, knowing that he may appreciate them as time goes, it is really difficult. It is difficult. Hope that answers your question.
Wow, it really does. So what I actually picked from your submission is the character that the child gets. It's the intention, consistency that the parent puts in. It doesn't matter the structure where the child is growing from. So I know you've leaned more on the parent side, but I would want to ask you now, for a child who is out there, they were raised from a single parent household. They're already old like myself. I'm old. Women don't say their age, yeah, but people around my age and they're already out there. What advice would you give them for a man who is out there? They don't know how to handle the world because they were raised by a single mother. For a girl who is out there and they don't know how to talk to a man and get married and keep a home because they didn't have a father figure to look up to, what advice do you give to that child who is already out in the community?
Thank you for that question. I think in this question, first and foremost, I would say I'm not a professional in this area. I'm also talking out of experience and what I've been through. I would just want to put that clear, such that my word should not be taken as Kalyango said so and so. No, as that said, I think, how did I handle that situation? Because as I said, my parenting was not the very best. And in most cases, we always want to parent our children the way we were parented. I started by listing down a list of things that I felt my father would have done better. And by so doing, I didn't want to go into the same line where I felt he would have done better. So I listed a list of things that I felt this is what the African man normally has and lacks. And then maneuvering from the African man and the European man, I wanted to find myself in the middle, because upbringing always has an influence of the culture where we live. There is no way I was going to bring up a child with all the African values, thinking that he's going to grow up like a typical African child in Europe. That doesn't apply. Now, you who has grown up in Uganda and you want to change, try to list down what do you think you lack? What do you think your mother did not do well that you can do better? If you can find that, then try to do the contrary of what your mother did. I think that's the only way we can go along, because we always think that our parents were not the very best upbringers. We always think that we can do better, but sometimes you need to go back to them and ask, how did you do it? Because we try to achieve to be the best. Everyone who does whatever they do, they want to be the very best of their own. But sometimes we end up doing the contrary. And then I think also acknowledging that I'm not the very best. I'm not a professional in this area. Even professionals have problems. Sometimes this also helps a lot to see a professional in the area. If you're talking about counseling about marriage, see a professional in the area. If it's about psychiatric problems, go and see a psychologist, a psychiatrist for that matter. Whatever need be has to be done, because as we know that the children we leave behind will always be the future parents. And as we know that it is always the character they get, because these characters really affect them even so much during the early age. So whatever we are inflicting in our children, wherever we are parenting, the way we are parenting them is going to affect them, the way they grow and the father they are going to become. Now, in your case, it is your parenting that makes you the way you are. But then again, is the man interested in kneeling for him? Because that's also where the culture comes in. You could have been married from a man who is from North, who doesn't really mind about kneeling. You could have been married to someone who is from West, just like yourself, who doesn't really care about the kneeling. The kneeling or the culture will affect you when you are married someone from a different culture. And now you're going to be in between, raising children who are growing up with a man's culture or living in an area where values are being highly respected. And then you have to find yourself, where do you belong according to these different cultures that you're living in. So the kneeling would have been more appreciated if you're married to a Muganda man. He would appreciate that more. And good enough, now I hear we have the Bisakati where we can go and get some good information. So it's not like the old days, and then we have the chat GDP that can always help you, maneuver and find your way out. So it's not like a very lost culture that you cannot find your way out. There's always a way out.
Wow, there is always a way out. And for every parent watching us, it doesn't matter whether it's a full structured family or you're a single parent. From what Mr. Kalyango is telling us today is that you have to be intentional. What do I want my children to be? And you have to be intentional about it and also work on it. If you're a child out there and you are raised either from a single parent household or a full house, but you think there is something missing, Mr. Kalyango has told us that the only thing you have to do is becoming better. Look at what your parent didn't do well and work on that. Make sure you do better and address all the gaps that you feel your parents missed out. So as we come closer to the end of our show, Mr. Kalyango, back to you. I would want to know, you've talked about the children, but now to a parent, maybe single parenthood, like you said, it's something that comes, you don't plan it, you get a man, you're sure you're going to have a family and something happens. So for a single parent who is new in this game, like they're just fresh, maybe a woman just lost her husband, or a couple is going through a divorce, what do you tell that single parent? What should they prepare for? Especially when maybe they're still grieving, like yourself, you are still grieving and not ready to remarry. What should they prepare for? And how emotionally should they go through that thing? I know you said you're not a professional, but experience is the best teacher. So, what do you tell that parent out there who is just new in this thing?
Yeah. What you have to bear in mind if you are new in this field of being a single parent, that giving love to your children, giving them the right to make their independence decisions, making decisions independently, it will help them to know that they are being loved, to know that they have the responsibility, to know to have that they will have the confidence to make decisions. Sometimes what you have to bear in mind that when you do the contrary, when you neglect the children, don't show them love. When you don't show them the love, then they will be very hard on themselves. These are the people who become difficult in making decisions. And that can be into marriage or religion. When people don't have love, when they are not shown love. They don't know how to love. And I think that's sometimes it occurs mostly when you're brought up by single dads, sometimes because, as we say, we are not good into cuddling and giving kisses and telling children that we love them. And sometimes it ends them into, bad decisions, not being warm enough, not making good decisions. But as a mother, you also have to bear in mind that too much kisses and hugs and everything, sometimes to a man, they can make them more soft, that they cannot make decisions when they become men. So it's like balancing. You need to tell them you love them. Of course, everyone needs to hear that, but then balance it and then make decisions, and not make sure that they make decisions. Because I've also lived in a situation where I've seen children taking on the responsibilities of being the man in the house. They come and make decisions. Mom, we have to do this. We have to do that. We have to do that. It's like you have to remember that you're the adult. It's okay to talk and share some views, but then don't let the children take over the responsibilities of decisions. You are still the decision maker, whatever the case can be. And then again, realizing that if I want these children to be independent, I have to have a limit. I'm not supposed to dedicate and tell them, now you have to go to church, you have to pray, you have to do this, you have to do that. Because when you make a lot of don'ts and pressure them too much, they may become people who can't make decisions on themselves. We've seen people who ask each and everything. Now, do you want me to do that? Should I do that? Can I do that? How do we do this? They cannot think for themselves. And sometimes when you look at how religion has impacted us in Africa, it's like we are people who cannot think of ourselves. There's always one man who is telling you to do everything. That's why we end up in situations like the Kiwetere, who killed a lot of people, over 2,000. That's how we end up in places like this Kabamba, this Jamiru Mukuru, who took young Muslims and being killed there. Because when someone cannot sit and decide and try to analyze things on their own, that someone has to sit, and Imam has to tell you each and everything to the kind of woman that you have to marry, then you are going astray. And that all comes all the way from the way we bring up our children. We should have religion, we may have education, but it has not to be the last decision. You always have to have think twice before you do things. And that it comes all the way from the way we parent our children, because we can make them mouthpiece, implementing whatever we tell them to do, or we can then make them people who can think what you're telling them. Because when I talk to my children, they can tell me that I don't agree with you on that case. And I can take back my point and I said, I agree with you. What is your point? And we look at it and try to analyze it. Because the example I can give in this, if I stand in one corner and you stand in the other corner, we can argue the entire day, because it should be that maybe from my point of view, when I stand, I only see two legs from that stool. And if you're only seeing three legs and the other is only seeing two legs, then we can argue the entire life until I move from one place to the other. I say, okay, in this place, then I can see you are seeing three legs, but the other is also seeing only two. And when I stand on top, I can only see the bottom. I thought there were no legs. The other will say the other one, no, I thought there were three. Then the other one, oh, I thought there were two. So sometimes we need to rotate. Don't make last decisions just because you are the parent. Sometimes the children could be having a better angle of looking at an area, whereby even if you are the parent, you have to listen. Let's try to put down our ego sometimes and listen to our children, because they know better what it is to be a child in this present era. I was a child of the 80s and the 90s, and I don't know what it is to be a child of the 2020, almost going 2030. So the difference is so different. The difference is huge. And that's what we have to acknowledge all the time, that we grew up in different areas and times, and now children are also growing up in different areas and time. I think that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. And actually, why I was laughing because our president recently told us that he was a former youth. He
Yeah.
said, just because I'm in my 80s doesn't mean I wasn't your age. So thank you so much for reminding me. And that's actually coming to that. Because before we close the show, before we come to the end of the show, you will know everyone out there who is in Uganda, you know that this week we are supposed to choose our leaders. That includes the president and the MPs, members of parliament. So
Mm.
go out, put your vote, choose whichever leader that you want. After, from what they tell us, go home. Go home, trust the candidates agents, because each candidate has an agent at a polling station. So after you cast your vote, go home and make sure you tick within the box, because when you tick outside, that means that vote is invalid. So choose the president you want, choose the MP that you want. Don't stay back there and say, no, it's obvious so and so is going to win, they're going to steal our votes. No, your vote is your voice. Go out and vote. Don't participate in riots because we still need Uganda. Even after very, very many years, Uganda will still be here. So
Yeah.
don't participate in riots, vote peacefully, and go home. So, Mr. Kalyango, going into politics, because you said you're a politician, I won't ask you which candidate you support. So,
Yeah.
so you're safe. Yeah,
Did
but
I sound
what?
a politician?
Eh?
Did I sound a politician?
I know. I'm just going to talk about politics
Yeah.
because we are all Ugandans and it's our
Yeah.
responsibility. So I'm sure that some of the Ugandans who are going to watch this show, either some are watching it or are going to watch after. So what
Yeah.
message do you have? Because me, I've said my message, they have to vote for the leaders they want. What message do you have for our people here in Uganda who are going to cast their votes on Thursday, because that's when we are going to vote for our leaders.
Yeah, this is very crucial because I also heard that they are saying, some are saying we have to vote and stay, some are saying we have to go. But what does the Constitution saying that? Because at the end of the day, we have what the Constitution says. And as I said, personally, I'm not so much in politics because I'm a businessman and I'm also Ugandan, but I live here. I've left home for so many years. I really have nothing you can do right now that is not politically affiliated. But as that said, I think we should just remember that at the end of the day, there is life to live even after the ballot. So I think everyone right now, who am I to tell you who to choose? But I think we all know what we want. So we know what we want, we know what is good for us, and let's do what is good. You know, if the constitution, you're following the constitution and says keep it, you have to remain there, do that. If the constitution says you have to leave, then leave. So at the end of the day, when I look at the European politics and then the Ugandan politics, it's way different. Right now, I don't know which way to look at, because when we have politics here, people will still shake hands, people will still talk, knowing that there is a better Uganda tomorrow, knowing that there is a better Denmark tomorrow. So like our politics, the day after, you would even walk like nothing has happened. Because the moment you finish elections, you are told to leave everything, and even the posters, you won't see them, which is the contrary from Uganda. What am I making here? That in my submission to the Ugandan politics is very relevant because it cannot even contribute anything to the issue. Now that I've been away for so long and I'm not politically active, so I really don't know what I can sum that. But the only thing I would prefer talking about before we close, it is the Euro tournament. We have the Euro tournament, as we all know. This is where we normally meet, exchange views, and see one another, the people that we've not seen for so long. And this time around, it will be from the 3rd to the 5th of July. And we are going to be in Netherlands. So my people in Netherlands, Amsterdam, remember we are coming, and this time, Danish Crane is well prepared. So Haji, you have to remember before you talk about your people, you know that we are coming full swing. We want to win again and again and again. That is what we do in Danish Hero Crane. So once again, mark your days from the 3rd to the 5th. We will be in 3rd and 5th of July. We will be in Amsterdam. Once again for enjoying the Muchomo, those who love Muziki, Echimere. As we know, actually, our people in Amsterdam, these are one of the best, arrangers. They know what they do. When they make the occasion, it's really very colorful, and we have very good DJs in Amsterdam. Life is good in Amsterdam. Those who know. Kale, twegwekeyo mu Amsterdam ndowooza. Nga 3 paka nga 5 ogw'omusanvu tujja kuba Amsterdam Euro Tournament. Abe US mwetegeke, England mwetegeke, tujja ekya Denmark tetukoze tetujja kukyogerako nnyo naye mujja kutulaba this time tuze tumazeeko. That's all I can say. Yeah.
Me too, I'm coming. Though you've not invited away Uganda, naye naffe tujja.
No, but people always come. We have a full budget. Yeah, we have a budget because this is the only occasion now that brings people together in Europe. Besides the Euro Convention, the UNA Convention, this is something that actually brings people in regardless of your political affiliations. So we come together, we enjoy life, we laugh, and it's always in good. The sunshine is always up, So this time, because we don't want people to complain about the winter and everything. And we are crossing fingers that it will be lots of sunshine. So, yeah.
Yeah, we are coming. We are coming. Even us who are not footballers, we are coming. Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do besides journalism? Because I do farming.
Oh.
I'm in coffee. I'm in business. I'm in football. What do you do besides all this?
You talked about coffee. I should actually host you and we talk about coffee because I'm a journalist, but I'm also a farmer. I have a farm of goats. I have a banana plantation, so I'm a farmer.
Wow.
Yeah, but
you're welcome to my world.
Yeah, I prefer to talk about myself as a journalist who actually didn't study journalism. I just took it on because I love writing and telling all these stories. And I love talking about the economy of Uganda. Like, even if you woke me up in sleep, I'll tell you how much we earn from which export, how much we are selling. Yeah,
I think
so coffee
that will be interesting. That's why you have the passion into what you're doing.
Yeah. So I love talking about the economy on paper and informing very, very many people about it. Yeah. So
Yeah, I'll be delighted to talk about my journey in the industry of farming as well.
Oh, okay. We'll talk about
another segment.
Yeah, we'll talk about farming. Yeah, since we both belong to the farming and coffee and business, we'll talk about that. We still have a lot of time to go. And for our people in diaspora, we still stand with you. This week, we lost one of the great men who loved Uganda, Mr. Isaac Chigozi. So we pray that may his soul rest in peace, and may Allah be pleased.
Amen.
Yeah, may Allah receive him and grant him Jannah. He was a very great man. I worked with him. In fact, I wrote a story that I think the story ran on Monday and he passed on, I think, on Wednesday. It was so sad. Like, it was a shock. Because I talked to him the other month, he had brought in investors from USA, so it was really sad. So may his soul rest in eternal peace, and may Allah grant him Jannah. I hope that's how they say it in Islam.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, so people watching us, Thank you for tuning in and for being with us throughout the show. I know it was interesting. We didn't exhaust everything because next week we have Mrs. Susan Namtevi, who is also a single mother, who will give us the other side of the coin because they always tell us the coin has two sides. So today we just gave you a hint, and today we talked to a single father. So we want to see, are they the same experiences with a single mother? So next week we'll have Mrs. Susan Namtevi, who will also give us her side of parenthood. And I still remind you, if you've not watched our show for last week, please check it out. It's also interesting. It will also give you some of the wisdom on parenting. And here at Euro Forum UG, we are here to give you the best. We are here to connect with everyone. Wherever you are, you can reach out to us, call us, and tell us which topic you want us to talk about. We have the experts. And you can also ask us if you want to go to the US, if you want to go to Denmark, if you want to come back to Uganda, we can help you out. How do you get your national ID? Because I think recently I was talking to the people in Malaysia and they were saying some of them their IDs expired. So you can always reach out to us and we can maybe help you in one way or another. So now going back to Mr. Kalyango, your parting shots, what are your last words? What's your last message to our viewers?
Yeah, I don't think I have much to say. All I can say that as we do the good job of parenting, we should always remember that if we are too hard to our children, they may end up being people who cannot make decisions on themselves. And we don't want to have a child who is going to be depending on you for the rest of your life. And then again, if we are too soft, we have also seen the repercussions that they may end up being those very soft dads that cannot make decisions, and they are being bullied by ladies, because sometimes we actually find that some men, we actually get a lot of, we are being tortured because it's our ego that we cannot come out and say, I'm being beaten as a man. So we normally swallow that ego and we end up into depression and end up drinking ourselves to death because we swallow our ego and don't talk about things that happen in the dark. But that happens sometimes when the kids are brought up in a way that they are so soft. The world is not a bed of roses. So let's try to find the middle way of upbringing our children. They are not so soft, they are not so hard. And then again, try to look into the environment, the culture where you're bringing up your kids. It should not affect, but not so much. Religion should also be there to guide you, but not rule your ways of doing and behavior, because we don't want children who are going to be leaders of cults tomorrow. It's okay to have a religion, but it's not supposed to be a cult, because then it's too much that you can't even analyze and think for your own. Let's try to have a life that is easy to mediate and find our way of living a better life. And well knowing that the children that we are upbringing, they will be the parents of tomorrow. Thank you, sir, madam.
Wow, thank you so much. I hope you also enjoyed the show like I did, because it was more. I learned a lot as someone who is planning to be a parent soon. So I think I picked a lot, and one of my takeaways is, as a parent, whether you're single or you're still married and you have your partner, you just have to know that parenting is, you have to be intentional about it, you have to be consistent, and then you'll have great children, because you're not just raising children for you, you're raising children that are going to be in the community. So if you raise good children, they will serve their nations, they will serve wherever they go, and it will all be impact that you've instilled in them. So be a good parent, and for a child out there, plan to be better and address all the gaps that maybe your parents missed to address. Always reach out to us, watch our videos, and please share the message with whoever you think needs to hear this gospel. Thank you for watching, and as always, please pray, read your Bibles or Quran, because God is the creator of everything. Where our imaginations and everything stops, it's where God starts from. So have God, like Mr. Kalyango said, don't make it a cult, but have God in you, have religion, have something you believe in, because there is a life after us. So thank you so much for watching. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Welcome to Euroforum UG, where we address Ugandans from Europe, USA, Asia, Africa, Australia, and all over the globe. We share experiences, opinions, and expertise on current affairs, educative lifestyle, religion, and family matters. Follow, subscribe, and like our social media platforms: Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok at Euroforum UG. You can also join our live shows every weekend on our social media platforms. For more information, visit our social media platforms or email us at euroforumug@gmail.com or WhatsApp us on +4740 574040. Euroforum UG, communicating with peers.